If that doesn't make you fall in love with the Bible, I don't know what will. This thing you carry around and you see on the screen, that is a love letter from God. It tells you how much He loves you. What do you mean, how much He loves you? Well, let's see if we can quote it. Everybody ready to quote the Bible today? Let's quote it. For God so wait. So what's that word in there? So. Man, I so love you. Say that again. Put that so in there. That He came. His only. There's not another. If you're looking for another Jesus, there's only one Jesus. Anyone that comes after that one is the Antichrist. He's trying to be a pretender. Can I get a witness? Yes. That whosoever. Turn around to somebody and say, that includes me. Whosoever includes me. I don't know if you have ever walked into a place and felt like you didn't know if you really belong. Oh, yes. Yeah. Let me tell you, here you belong. Yeah. You're right where you're supposed to be. Matter of fact, I'm going to read some more Bible here in a minute, but we have some classes. So would you do me a favor? Would you go around and start shaking hands to those teachers and go to the classes the kids can go, and you can introduce yourself? Just go there. Hug somebody real quick. Come on, folks. I know maybe it's just like you don't know what that is. Shake your hand. Start with something. Start with something. Shake your hand, and that's what you want to throw. We'll let those classes go downstairs. Here we got some nice classes going on downstairs. All right? That's the only one I know.
Amen.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Hey, how are you guys? Maria. What was your name? Mark.
Hola.
Hey,
Hola,
Papa. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó?
Hello this morning, how are you?
All right?
Yes,
We get all the classes. Let those kids go, man. They got a great class today in store for them. The teachers have redecorated their classes downstairs. They got some new snacks. Gold buckets have been thrown out. Blue buckets have been put in. Okay. I tell you, they're in the best hands where they're going right now. And that is to be trained.
Take your mouse and go all the way to when you want to press that.
So they can establish themselves in the Word of God. If there's something I want to establish myself in, my children in, it's the Word of God. Can I get a witness?
He does.
Now, I know what I'm going to say next may be just sound like a public announcement, but if you have small children and I get too loud, please feel free to step back in the nursery, okay? I don't intentionally want to hurt anybody's ears, but I know those little ones. And if it sounds like that I've changed from G to PG, and you feel like you need to step out too. I mean, I don't get on the birds and the bees too much, but I might because this is supposed to be an adult situation. So I wanted you to know that if I get a little bit on PG, because everybody here know about the birds and the bees? The birds fly away, the bees sting. Everybody know about that?
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure you guys know about the birds and the bees. Okay? Yeah. If that's not enough to make your kids want to stay home to 30, that. You know what I'm saying? I met a man at the hospital yesterday. He told me I was talking about getting married young, and he told me, he said, "Yeah, I got married," and he told me his age. I kept scratching my head. He got married. He said, "Yeah, I got married really young." I said, "How old were you?" He said, "I got married when I was 55." I said, "Man." I said, "Well, that was the first time." He goes, "Yeah, that's the first time I got married, 55." Lord Jesus. No wonder he was complaining. He had tried to do it his way for 55 years, and that didn't work.
Preach it.
Now, I'm going to get back in the book. God have mercy. You go to messing with stuff like that when you got that, you cause a atomic reaction with that. Psalm 139 and 2 verses is my beginning point. Let me tell you today, if you have a pen and paper, or if you have a cell phone or device, would you use it today, please? I would like you to take at least the reference points of the scriptures that I've given today. I'm going to be giving several, not here in a row, not right now. I'm going to just start with this one verse from Psalm 139, 2 verses 15 and 16. But I'm going to be using several verses because I want to establish this in your brain. I want it to become one of those things that it's a second nature with you. We are living in a world that is so far off the center of the Word of God and prophecy. And as you know, I've been preaching and teaching the last few Sundays, and I continue, unless the Lord changes me, I'm going to continue doing that. But we need to go line upon line, precept upon precept, as Isaiah said. We need to use the Word of God to understand the Word of God. Psalm 139, 2 verses, verse 15 and verse 16. The psalmist wrote, "My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret, and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfected." And this is the part I want you to get because it's going to be my whole thought for today. "And in thy book," everybody say that with me. "In thy book, all my members were written, which in continuance was fashioned, when as yet there was none of them."
Wow.
You're standing, you may be seated. Today I'm going to be preaching on a very simple subject, just 4 words. Written in God's book.
Amen.
Turn around and somebody say, "I'm written."
I'm ready.
He said, "Well, how did you get in that book?" Well, first of all, you started to get in when you were born. Everybody here that knows for sure you were not hatched.
Good.
Would you raise your hand? You know you were not hatched. You did not. You know, there are people actually believe in the stork. How many know that you did not come from an egg from a stork? You know that when you raise your hand. Again, this is the adult class. I know I've been messing with some of these kids today if I tell them, "You didn't come from a stork." That's not what my teacher said. I came from a bird. They just dropped me off. Well, I hate to break it to you, but you were fearfully and wonderfully made by God. But continuing with that thought, Malachi chapter 3. Malachi chapter 3. Brother Michael Cicero is going to do some reading for me this morning. Brother Michael, if you will turn to Malachi chapter 3, and read 3 verses there. Okay? Verse 16, 17, and 18. Now, I will tell you, if I was a good and kind person, I would have given Brother Michael Cicero these verses ahead of time. You know what? Part of my training, and still is part of my training, people will hand me information I've never seen before, and they said, "Now we need you to do a wedding and funeral based on this stuff." And I'm going to tell you, some of the names alone, I go, I've been known that when I read names, that sometimes I don't want to even read the last name of all the relatives. Because when your name is spelled Izkmp, I don't really know how to pronounce that, for sure. But Brother Michael Cicero is going to help us, because I really want to establish this in your mind.
Amen.
Verses 16, 17, and 18.
Then they that feared the Lord spoke often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord, and that thought upon his name. They shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in that day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them, as a man might spare his own son that serveth him. Then shall you turn and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not.
Malachi, that last book, is the minds of the people of God. God said to them, I want you to know, I know what you're doing. And I wrote a book. How many knows that God has a book with every tear that you've ever cried? With every hair that's fallen from your head. Some of us, that's more hair than others. I was reading a little devotion this week, and it was from actually this Malachi verse, and it said this: the Lord loves being the subject of your conversations, the object of your affections, the center of your attention. He so enjoys this, he is writing a book about it. And the starring role is none other than you. It's sure to be on heaven's bestseller list. When I read that, I thought, have you ever thought about you being on the bestseller list? Just think about that. But you know why? Because God wrote you in there.
Praise God. Hallelujah. Amen.
I know some of us look out and say, well, you know, you've been teaching a lot about giving. You went to the book of Malachi. Yes, that's true. And God wrote you in.
Yes.
This is a cheerful giver.
Yes.
This is somebody who loves my word.
Yes.
I want you to know you are the subject. How many of you ever read the book of Job? Have you ever read the book of Job? I see your hand. It's not Job. You don't have to go out and get one. Okay. In it, God lets us to know He intimately knows Job.
Yes.
How many caught that when we read the book of Job?
Yes.
That God has said, you know what? When I start writing things in heaven, Job, you're right in there. You are the center, the object of my affections. Job, I love you. You are important to me. Now, we talked about it, and again, he went on to become the more famous of the patriarchs, was Abraham. But Job also was a patriarch. How many knew that? Job, many believe Job is the oldest book in the Bible. It predates Genesis. Job probably lived, I'm pretty sure that Abraham lived before Moses. How many believe that's probably so?
Yes.
Abraham lived before. Well, does it not make sense that there's no church, there's no priesthood, there's no law? Not in the book of Job. Stay with me right now. But we see in the Word of God, God says, I want you to know, it's very important that you know what I want you to know, which is that your name has been written and things about you has been written. Now going to the book of Luke, we're going to jump back to the Old Testament, but Luke chapter 10, verses 19 and number 20, Brother Boston's going to read those for me. Luke chapter 10, verse 19 and 20. Again, I want you to know that we are trying to get you to take notes. If you don't open your phone, I can't help you. People are going to mess with you prophetically. Let me tell you, the best thing for you to do to mess yourself up prophetically. I'm going to tell you what it is. Everyone ready here? Best way to get my head messed up completely. Anybody want to know? It's called YouTube. I don't know whether they don't call it BoobTube. Yeah, because every day you go on there, they'll tell you prophetically why Jesus Christ is going to split the eastern skies tomorrow. And then next Monday, they'll tell you why that really didn't happen and why it's going to be next Tuesday. Well, the best thing for you to do, well, I'll get there in a minute. Brother Lawson, Luke chapter 10, verse 19 and 20.
Behold,
I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Notwithstanding, in this rejoice not, that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice, because your names are written in heaven.
Yes. Amen. Amen.
Turn around and somebody said, my name is important to God. Job is important to God. Moses is important to God. David is important to God. Does anybody know why? Because God has written them in.
Yes.
Amen. Come on.
Stay with me. I know some of you go, oh, this is getting too basic. Well, let me just tell you, I know it's basic, but you just need to know where your name's at.
Yes.
Just need to let you know a little bit more. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 22 and verse 23. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 22 and verse 23. Brother Elgar, do you mind reading for us? These guys did some ministry while we were gone, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Thank you for doing that so much. And I'm whipping them out on you guys today. You know, so I just did that, but I know one of the things, they all love me pretty much. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 22 and verse 23.
But ye are come unto Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect.
Does this sound good to anybody?
Yes. Yes.
Come on.
Somebody says, what church do you go to? Well, I go to the church of the firstborn.
Amen.
That's the name of your church. How do you get in? Be born again.
All right. All right.
Come on.
Well, do you have a Bible for that? Jesus said you must be born again.
Yes.
If Jesus said it, I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that has a lot to do with what's getting written in heaven.
Yes.
That's right.
And I don't know about you, but when we get to heaven, and I'm going to tell you, we get some of those Old Testament patriarchs around, they're going to say, oh my goodness, who is this? Somebody's going to say, that's the General Assembly.
Amen.
That's the church of the firstborn.
Yes.
What were they born of? Of water and spirit.
Yes.
Wow, really? Really?
Yes.
You know, I get pretty excited about some things.
Good.
Anybody notice that? I get pretty excited.
All right.
You know, I get excited when my grandson, he excites me. When he enters the room, excitement begins in more than one way.
All right.
I get excited when I see someone born again.
Yes.
Someone who's been snatched from the fire.
Yes.
That excites me. Does that excite anybody else? How many's with me on this so far? I'm excited. I get excited over Bible college kids to see the molding and shaping of their lives, and God prepares them for a life of service. Does that excite anybody? No, come on, help me. Does that excite anybody? But I can tell you, nothing in life excites me more than to know my name is written
That's right. Amen.
in the Lamb's Book of Life.
Yes.
Nothing excites me. Mary A. Kidder was born March 16, 1812 in Boston, Massachusetts. She died November 25th, 1905. You've done the math. She lived a long life. Mary was blinded as a teenager, but fortunately for us, her sight was restored after a few years. She lived in the city of New York City for 46 years. One of the most famous hymns she ever wrote is entitled, Is My Name Written There? It goes like this. Lord, I care not for riches, neither silver nor gold. I would make sure of heaven. I would enter that fold. In the book of thy kingdom, with its pages so fair, tell me, Jesus, my Savior, is my name written there? And the refrain goes like this. is my name written there on the pages white and fair in the book of thy kingdom. Is my name written there? See, I agree with her. The most exciting thing of that I get excited about more than anything else is God's book of remembrance. I want to be in that book. See, this week I was in Revelation chapter 13. I don't know if you read Revelation 13, but I told you that chapters 6 through 19 of the book of Revelation is hell on earth. So you don't have to go to hell. See, God's all about getting us saved, even if He has to give us something to get our attention. How many believe that? But Revelation 13, it mentions about this book. And when I read it, I couldn't get away from the verse. I mean, I read about the Antichrist, and you know what the Antichrist is? He is a political leader. But every political leader knows you need something to take over the world. You have to also have a false prophet. Let me tell you, they're living in Springfield today. People who prophesy things that are not according to this book. Let me tell you something right now, folks. We could get care of false prophecy real easy if we go back to the Old Testament. We just, after 2 or 3 times if you miss it, we just stone you to death. Because you got to get it right. You know, at what point are you going to quit scaring people? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? How many knows what I'm talking about? People just scare you all the time. That's why I told you. I'm going to tell you, folks, listen to me. Come on. There's things that we need to know that come from the book. So let's go to the book. Revelation 13 and 8. I told you, hopefully you got a pen and paper, hopefully you're using your phone today. Revelation 13 and 8. In this chapter, like I said, I was reading this week. I read about those that dwell upon the earth. And I came across this verse.
Praise God.
Amen. It really caught my attention. Brother Dugan, good and loud.
And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
Okay, now you got a moment to do it in Spanish. Go ahead. Brother Dugan, again, we appreciate it. I want to just keep saying how much we appreciate it. Brother Dugan, Brother Ungary, Brother Cicero, Brother Dawson, you four men. You know, the 4 of you, I'm going to be starting something soon called MIT. You guys want to go to MIT? Levon said, I've been to all the school I want to go to. MIT. What's that stand for? Ministers in Training.
Yes.
Who's going to be in? You got to be serious about the Word of God. You cannot minister to people if you don't know the book, because it's the book that ministers to people.
That's right.
How many today know a little bit more because of the verses I've read? You know a little bit more? Okay. We just read again that there is names that are written. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 15. Sister Cicero, let's see if we can get a lady in here. Good enough. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 15.
And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
There is a book in the world that has taken the world by storm. This particular book has been used by the young and the restless, the beautiful and the bold.
All right.
It's been used by the rich and the poor, by all nationalities, all ethnicities. This book has even been used by corporations, churches, fraternities, sororities, universities, colleges. This book has also been used by celebrity politicians. We have one in the White House, right, who uses this book. Famous athletes, actors, actresses, rap stars, singers. And last but not least, it's also been used by pastors and evangelists and ministers.
Amen.
Now, you're probably asking me, what book are you referring to? Well, of course, I'm referring to Facebook. That's what I'm referring to, Facebook. A pastor one day was talking to a young person in a revival, and a question came up during the conversation, and this was the question that was asked by the pastor. Are you in the book? Well, the pastor, being able to understand enough about today's society, understood the question and answered yes. I'm in the book, because he knew the person was asking, are you on Facebook? I mean, did I lose anybody yet? Are you still with me? Okay. But the minister said at the same time that question was asked, and he answered the question, he thought he'd like to ask the question. He didn't, but he said, because he thought about it later, he said, I would like to ask the young person, are you in the book? But I'm not talking Facebook.
Right.
See, God's got a book that's written. It's written about your involvement with Him. Let me tell you something right now. If God has a diary and you have a diary, do you write about each other each night?
Preach.
Why? Because see, there's a book today, folks, that's become the predominant book of our day. And you've heard me say, it's time for us to get off of Facebook and get our face back in the book. Because I want you to know, this book tells you about a God who says, I want you to know that it's very important that you understand that I have you written down. I've written down who you are. I've written down what you've done. Let me tell you this. God said, you know what? Can I tell you, you sit down with God, and I know people don't believe this, but this is going to happen one day. You're going to sit down with God by yourself. Won't be any there. Won't be a pastor, won't be a spouse, won't be a child, won't be a mayor, won't be your doctor. You'll be sitting there across from Jesus one-on-one. And He's going to say, you know, when you were born, April 3rd, you weighed 8 pounds, 6 ounces. You were 21 and 3/4 of an inch. My birth certificate didn't say the 3/4. They dropped it. I'm telling you, you were 3/4. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you how much you grew in the room each month. Excuse me, God said, I intimately know you.
Right.
Yes. Hallelujah. Come on.
Amen.
I know you're rising up, and I know you're sitting down.
Hallelujah. Come on.
I know everything about you.
Praise the Lord.
And God said, we're going to have a little conversation about what I know.
Yes.
Now, we were in the Old Testament, so I want to hold a little bit there again, because I think you're getting interested now. Took all those scriptures and all that to get you interested. But I think some of you are trying to get interested now. In the book of Exodus, chapter 32, there's something that caught my attention. I'm not sure you're aware of the book of Exodus. How many know about the book of Exodus and why it's called that? Do you know why it's called that? Do you know why it's called the book of Exodus?
The Israelites are leaving.
How many see the word exit in it?
Stage left.
Okay. Who are exiting from where? Israel. I think I heard that. Israel.
Israel was leaving Egypt.
I think one of the big movie producers made a whole movie about
The
it.
Ten Commandments.
Right? They actually come through.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tough.
Well, after they come through and make that exodus, they get in trouble with God, and
Yeah.
God and Moses
How
are
many
having a
times?
conversation.
Yeah.
And God is saying, Moses, I can tell you, I've got this one. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna take care of these people. I'm gonna pretend they never existed. Can you imagine God said, I'm gonna make it appear that you never existed? And in that conversation, in Exodus chapter 32, is where that conversation's at. Verse 31, 32 and 33. And Moses returned unto the Lord and said, all this people have sinned a great sin and have made them gods of gold. Moses just establishes, God, I think I know why you're upset. I think it's because, let me tell you something. In Revelation 13, you know what is made in Revelation 13? There's an image made in Revelation 13. The Bible says there's going to be an image, just like Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego got thrown in the fire for. There's going to be another one of those made. That the Antichrist and the false prophet are going to make an image, and people are going to have to bow down to it. And there are going to be some people on the earth that have a problem with that. But they're going to be told, if you don't bow down to that, you won't be able to buy any groceries or food or clothing or anything, because you haven't bowed down. We're not going to give you the seal to go and buy. Does everybody understand what seals are? They're all throughout the book of Revelation. How many know the story of Toy Story? Are there any Toy Story people now? Remember when there was 2 Buzz Lightyears? You remember that story? You know how you found the true light? How do you say it? Buzz Lightyear. You know how they found the right one? Andy was written underneath one of them.
Yeah.
That's how you knew the real from the fake. You know how you know the real church from the false church? One has a name and the other one doesn't. When did I get that name? When you're put down that water in the name of Jesus. Andy doesn't go there. Can I get a witness from anybody? See, that's things that they don't tell you on BoobTube.
All right.
Or gossip book. Well, they call it Facebook, but you know. And God is talking to Moses, and the conversation continues on. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, God, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book, which thou hast written. You know what? Let's assume this part. I think there's things when you read a word of God, I can assume. Moses knew he was in.
Right.
How many knows you can assume that?
Yes.
Him and God had a conversation, and Moses said, I'm in your book. And God said, yeah, you are.
All right.
And Moses said, there's some other people in that book. God said, yeah, they were. And he goes, you're getting ready to take them out. Let me tell you something about the book, folks. Next time somebody tells me, oh, I won, they came down to the altar and prayed. Well, you can still be taken out of the book.
That's right.
Don't let,
That's right.
don't let anybody lie to you. Now, let me tell you, you say, well, but how can you feel secure? I feel secure that I know I'm in the book.
Right.
I mean, I can talk to God. We can talk and say, God, let me say this. No, I'm not, I don't mean any disrespect to God, but you know me.
Right.
I'm in the book, God. I've been baptized in the name. I believe in the blood. I believe in all 66 books. I'm in your book.
Amen.
That's all Moses was saying. I'm in the book. But he said, God, I want you to know there's some other people about to get out of the book. Let me tell you, the next time somebody tells you you don't need the fivefold ministry, look them in the eye and say, you're an idiot.
Amen.
No, I would even so go as far as say you're probably a moron. Why? You never read the book. What kept those people from being blotted out that day
That's right.
was a minister stood up and said, I'd go to hell if they could go to heaven. Who does that for you? Who will go to hell for you that you can go to heaven? See, the harlot won't do it. The one that's hired, that gets a weekly paycheck, he won't do that.
Right.
Let Let me ask you, what was Jesus' weekly paycheck? What was his take-home pay? Does anybody know? But I can tell you, he's not only a shepherd, he is the great shepherd.
Yes. Yes.
And I want you to know right now, Moses was chosen because of his shepherd ability. For 40 years, he learned how to lead sheep. Don't tell me it's an accident. The only king that Jesus recognizes is David because he led sheep. And when God wanted to associate with mankind, he said, I was what Moses and David was.
Right.
I was the one that wanted to know what does it take to keep them in the book. Let me tell you, my prayer every day is that you don't get out of the book. You get out of that Bible, and I'm telling you, you're going to get out of the Lamb's book. Because you're going to forget that you were bought. You're going to forget that there's a God who came to this sin-blasted planet to die for your sin-sick soul. And he didn't have to do it. But you need to know, since the very first verse that I read, God said, I knew you each month as you were growing in the womb.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
No one intimately knows you like I know you.
Right.
No one has invested what I have invested.
Right.
Let me tell you something right now. The devil is a thief. He hasn't invested anything in you. If anything, he's stealing from you. He's stealing your morality. Oh my God, we're going to go down that road today. That is 2019. Get off the M card, would you please? Don't talk about morality. Let me tell you something. I am convinced that the best thing for a man is one wife and no girlfriends. I want to go on record and say, why is that? Because Jesus don't have any girlfriends. He has one wife. Revelation. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to tell you he has one bride. And I like what he calls. He don't call us a wife. He calls us a bride. You know why? Because you're nice to the bride. You get chocolates when you're the bride. You get date nights when you're the bride. When you become a wife, well, things kind of change. I don't want to go down that road. So notice I can't even look at you right now. I can't even look at you. Because I'm afraid I might lock contact with somebody. Man, bring that. But see, Revelation is filled with all kinds of symbolism. And with that, the wife of Jesus Christ, the bride of Jesus Christ, is symbolic of what? Anybody know? Purity. Morality. Morality. Let me tell you, somebody said, well, I never fight that one. You never fought the temptation to lie, ever. You never have to fight back calling people morons. You never have to fight that back. Oh my God, that's on tape. Brother Cicero, are you declaring on camera today that you are flesh? I guess I am. I guess I am. How do you know that you're still in the flesh? I still like fried chicken.
All right now.
Let me tell you something. I question. This is just me. I question somebody who has passion for ministry and they don't even know me.
All right.
Okay? At least eat tofu, okay? Eat tofu. Eat tofu, okay? I don't know, are vegetarians allowed tofu or not? We have any vegetarians in the house? Are you allowed tofu or not? Tofu's okay, well then you can give ministry. I'll let you in. That'll be at least tofu then, okay? Is anybody with me right now? Why? Because after the resurrection, the first thing that Jesus asked, he said, do you have any meat?
Right.
Uh-oh, don't go down that road. You're going to get us mad. Well, guess you just have to wake up tomorrow, eat your favorite donuts, and be glad. But today, the most exciting thing in my life
Yes.
is my name written. And if you didn't write any of those verses down, you say you do them afterwards for me. I don't know. I don't know how Brother Boston does as a teacher. Okay, he speaks, he tells people to go up pen and write these things down. And he goes slow enough so that you can actually see them on the screen and write them. Did everybody find that verse later on? Yeah. Okay, it's right there. Okay. Verse 33. And the Lord said to Moses, whosoever has sinned against me, him I will blot out of my book.
Amen.
Moses, let me tell you something, and I want everybody to look at me right now. There's something you need to know. Look right at me. It's not your book.
Right.
It's not a church organization's book.
Right.
God's book.
He calls it his book.
Hallelujah.
I want you to get my title today. Written in God's book. It's God's book.
Right.
God writes in, God blots out.
Yes. Right.
How many's glad that man doesn't do it?
Amen.
You! I cannot ask you. I just asked for a fried egg and a boiled egg. What am I thinking? I'm not simple enough to do a boiled, 2 fried. I want 1 boiled, I want 1 fried. And wouldn't you know, you messed it up. You fried the wrong one. Aren't you glad I don't write you in the book? Aren't you glad I don't take you out of the book? How many glad it's his book? That it's not a big something I'm in? Come on, let me tell you. How many know what an emotional frenzy is? Has anybody ever pushed your buttons? Some of you don't think you have buttons. But you do have buttons. And when you push them, there's this thing called an emotional frenzy. All of a sudden, people start stuttering. All of a sudden, their face turns red. All of a sudden, steam starts coming out of their nose and ear at the same time. That's an emotional frenzy.
Yes.
But let me tell you, that can come because you don't know the book. You go back to the book, you know who puts you in and who takes you out. Whose book it belongs to. And I want you to know today, that book is more important than listen to me, everybody look this way. That's more important than 1,000 friends on Facebook. Because we found out today, I am the friend of God. Come on, I said it's more important. Come on, than your little silly self-quote Bible. Listen to me right now, because there is a God who says, I want you to know I know everything about you.
Yes.
And I can tell you right now, when I make up my jewels, you're going to be a part of it. Man, that sounds good to me. How many does that sound good to you? When you read about the General Assembly, the church of the firstborn, those who are in heaven, how many like those verses? Do you like that? Let me tell you, see, it's all about, though, who is written in his book. Let me tell you something. There's ever been a message that you need to go online and listen to again, or take notes somehow to get this one to play back. You need a playback on this one. Because I'm going to tell you something. Prophetically today, you go to the book of Revelations, all those who make it to heaven, all those who live in eternity with God have the same thing. They are sealed.
Yes.
If you're not sealed, you are not going to be in heaven.
Right now.
And everybody who has a seal of the Antichrist, they are sealed to be doomed. Because they made a decision that an image made them. That's why God was so upset. They had forgotten so short after the greatest miraculous thing that ever happened. 10 miracles took place and they forgot them all.
Right.
Actually, I don't know. I've always used 10 because of the number of completion, but it's really like 11, right? I mean, the Red Sea counts for one, right?
Right. Right.
Actually, it's almost like 2 miracles because it opened and closed. What am I saying? I'm saying there's a God who not only has ice cream, he puts sprinkles on it. He goes above and beyond, and they forgot him.
Yes.
And so God had to remind Moses, Moses, what did he remind him? He said, I want to make sure you get this. God said it's, as Sister Cicero comes, it's my book.
Amen. Amen. Right.
It doesn't belong to a denomination. What are you trying to say? I'm trying to say that God said, I have stepped out of the box many times, even with Israel.
All right.
And I have done miraculous things for other nations.
Yes.
Let me tell you something today. All it takes to be in the book is a relationship with God.
Amen.
A genuine relationship. You know why you are the friend of God? Because you took the time. How many know what I'm talking about, time? Let me say something. Thank you for every one of you being here today. Some of you got here at 8:30 this morning, and it's going for 11:30. Of course, next week, don't forget, it will be a little different because next week the clocks change. So next week, it will be 12:30 at this time, okay? For some of you, what that means is set your alarm at least an hour ahead. Now, some of you, it might be need 2 hours. We won't go there. How are you going to make it next week, Pastor? I'm going to get a rooster. They know when the sun's up. They don't even look at the clock. That's the reason I eat chicken. Ever since that rooster squealed on Peter, all of us preachers are eating chicken. My God, can I get back to my thought? See, what I want you to know when you come to church, it's not all food. Does everybody get the verses that I started with, in Malachi and Psalm? God said, I love you. I want a relationship with you. I want you in my book of remembrance. I want to be in the Lamb's Book of Life. Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to be in the Lamb's Book of Life, at least start with the one of remembrance. Where God says, you know what? I noticed I'm in your journal. I want you to know you're in my journal. You don't think God, let me tell you, the book of Revelation says that your prayers are going to one day come up before God as a sweet smelling savor. And the devil's going to say, you know what? I want you to know those people don't really love you. That's what he said about Job. Job don't really love you. God. You just think he loves you. He said, let me tell you something. Job done something that Adam forgot to do. What's that? Talk to me every day. Job was forever talking. They had a relationship. Satan, I want you to know, this is my friend Job. Well, God, you allowed me. He said, yeah, I allowed you. But let me tell you something. Job is going to stand in the day of judgment when all mankind say, it was too hard to live for God. Job's going to stand up and say, no, it's not. He's going to have a relationship. But, you know, if you live for God, you're never going to have trials. No. No. See, the trying of my faith is more precious than gold. Is everybody with me right now? How many want just close your eyes right now and say, Lord, I want to be written in your book. I want to be written in your book. Come on, right now, just talk to him. Lord, I want to set my affections on you. Lord, I want to be the center of you in this earth because you're the center of my life. Jesus, you're the most important thing to me. If there's one thing I know, the longer I see people live for God, I've seen people live for God 50, 60, 70 years. Now that's a privilege to see people not that age live for God. One of the things that I noticed as they start getting ready to go home, the conversations with God are almost unbroken. Almost all their sleeping time, they're meditating on God. When they wake in the morning, they talk to Him. They go to bed at night, they're talking to Him again. They're just talking. Just talking. You know why? There's a book of remembrance. God said, I remember my friend talking to me at nighttime, in the morning. My friend. You say, well, I would talk to him too if I didn't feel so ashamed. Well, you know, the reason you feel ashamed is because there's an accuser of the brethren. His job is to always make you tell you how much you come up short. Let me tell you something. Whatever it is, let the Lord know you need help. And as long as you need help, there's hope. Now, if you want to go on the internet today, you tweet that one out, will you? Wherever there's asking for help, you know, God, I need help today. I need help with it. Do I need the mental works with me? Do I need it? I think you all know what they are. I think you know what you're struggling with. But whatever it is, God help us. And as you ask God to help you, there's hope. There's hope. How many today just want to stand on your feet and say, God, count me in. When you write that book, God's remembrance, count me in. God, I want to be that one that's been written in by you. Lord, I want to be that one. I realize now that the most important thing for me to understand, what would it profit me? Matthew said this. What would it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? What would it gain if I had more friends and more friends and more friends in this world? Let me tell you something, folks. I don't count my friends by those that come for free birthday cake and pizza. I count my friends by those that visit me in the emergency room and the hospital. That's what I count my friends. I count my friends by those that when I'm down, call and encourage me. That's my friend. Why? Because that's the kind of friend I have in Jesus. He's not just fair weather. He's there all the time. How many would like to just step out of your seat today and come to the front and say, God, I want the world to know I'm declaring my allegiance to you. Lord, I want to be written in your book. I want to be written in your book. God,